I don't know if this was a month ago maybe or 2 months ago. Time flies, but at one point I was arguing that real estate had topped, and I just felt it. I could just feel it, and we kind of had that discussion. And I said, well, if you wanted to sell your home, what would you do? And you said, well, I'd put it on the market this weekend. Do you still feel that way?
Without a doubt. Definitely.
Okay, because what Mike's saying
But
is
he priced it competitively.
right. Well, he's
Oh, yeah.
smart enough to know that.
Yeah,
For
yeah,
sure.
yeah. I mean, we don't know where interest rates are going to go. We know where they're at right now. We know what's happening with the market right now. We don't know what's going to happen with the market 6 months from now. I mean, the market's been so volatile, and it wasn't that long ago that we were talking about how great the affordability index was. To Mike's point, it was at all-time lows. Well, interest rates go up 1%. Prices have gone up 10%, 15%, 20% year over year. Now our affordability index is quickly dropping. So where are we going to be 6 months from now? We don't know, but we know where we're at right now. That's why I would put it on the market as soon as possible.
And that's, well, what Mike's saying is that sellers need to move quickly, and I agree. But what's your rationale for that, Mike?
Well, they need to move quickly because the Federal Reserve is going to start tapering. I mean, there's been all this saber rattling about the fact that they need to start tapering, and Bernanke's even started talking about it. They're going to start tapering. It's going to happen. When they start tapering, the quantitative easing is going to be reduced. As quantitative easing reduces, interest rates are going to continue to go up. In fact, the reason why interest rates went up in the last month, I believe, and you can tell me if you think I'm wrong, I believe they went up the last month out of fear. I believe bond traders basically cashed out of the market because they believed that the Federal Reserve was going to start cashing out of the market. And so they went in and jumped in ahead. That was fear selling, basically, that made interest rates go up. I believe you're going to continue to see that as there's more and more former Fed governors, for instance, that are coming out, and members of the Federal Open Market Committee that are coming out and saying they need to be tapering now. They need to end quantitative easing, all those types of things. All that saber rattling that's taking place is all taking place for a reason. As that happens and interest rates rise, affordability, like you're talking about, is dropping. Right when prices start exceeding our actual income growth, so average income growth, when prices start exceeding our average income growth and affordability starts dropping dramatically, that's when you don't want to be selling your real estate. You want to be selling your real estate when it's affordable, right? And people have the ability to buy it, and they have lower interest rates to use. Okay, when this thing hits, and when interest rates start to rise dramatically, and I believe they're going to in the next few months, when they start rising, that's going to be the time that you don't want to be putting your house on the market.
That's pure
So
brilliance.
selling would be right now.
Yep, right there. That's great stuff, Mike. That's Mike Litton, the broker owner, Keller Williams in Escondido, and that just makes a ton of sense to me. To say, well, hey, these are the certain conditions where you don't want to be a seller. When you're in a seller's market, I think it's pretty obvious. Seller's market, if you're a home seller, you sell it. If it's a buyer's market, you're a home buyer, you buy. You shouldn't be thinking. You don't have to think pretty much any further than that. The interest rate thing is an interesting conversation because it has not had a huge effect that we've noticed yet, or at least I haven't been getting a bunch of emails, or I haven't heard anyone screaming bloody murder just yet. But I do think it will have an effect. And if we lose any more ground, I think it could be devastating. I think if we got above 5%, I think we could really see a lot of people just kind of exit and say, I'm gonna sit back and see what happens here.
Yeah, you'll see people that truly believe as interest rates rise substantially that prices will come down. So they will wait for that point in time where they start to see prices decrease.
I mean, there's an argument to be made that the last month or two frenzy that you've seen, or real honest to goodness activity that you've seen in terms of this tick up of activity, has happened because the fence setters that were sitting on the fence waiting for interest rates to go to 3 figured out that wasn't going to happen anymore, right? And if they didn't buy pretty quick, they were going to be priced out of the market in terms of their affordability, their ability to qualify. And so all of a sudden they jump in. Well, that causes a frenzy of activity. That frenzy is starting to calm down. And the point I'm getting at is, if you're a seller and you put your property on the market and you try to test the market, you're doing the absolute wrong thing right now. What you need to do is put your house on the market, price it competitively, get it moved, and move on. Because right now is a window that I believe is going to close, and I believe it's going to close fairly quickly. I was just on the Channel 7 News a couple of weeks ago talking about this right before a whole ton of reports came out about reduction, about home builders, the executives from home builders, their confidence is down. Confidence is down with small business owners. Confidence is down, confidence is down, confidence is down. We don't have organic economic growth right now. We have messed with artificial smoke and mirrors economic growth. We have economic growth because of what the Fed's been doing with quantitative easing. The economy has grown, but it's grown because of artificial means. It hasn't grown because of anything organic. And you got to be thinking about that for a second when you start looking into the future. When you start looking into the future, it kind of gets a little scary because we don't have any sort of real organic economic growth that we can point to, and we don't have any economic policies that we can point to that will create that.
Yeah,
that's a problem.
Here's another thing that's interesting about the quantitative easing. Now that because of the sequester, the budget is in much better shape than it's ever been in the entire administration of the Obama administration. And if you take that $1 trillion a year and you just plug it in, instead of buying mortgage-backed securities, which is one thing that they're doing with it, if you just plug it in, we actually have a surplus, which is incredible. So you could also potentially go to the other side of that and say, well, if they stop the quantitative easing, we got a balanced budget. That would be good news. It wouldn't be great news for interest rates, obviously, but the writing is still on the wall for that. Great stuff. I think we could talk about this all day. We got to take a break. Coming up, it was an interesting article on CNBC about how the suburbs are going away in a lot of areas throughout the country. We'll find out if that's happening here in San Diego. I'll give you my input. I've got some personal experience on this. Stick around. We'll make you smarter than everyone else.